You are listening to The Black Landscape with Andrea Spearman, where Black excellence is always trending. Welcome back, everyone. This is your host, Andrea Spearman. We are in season 2 of The Black Landscape. Today we have with us community cultural bearer, Jameelah Lane. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Andrea. I'm so happy to be here.
Yes, we're so glad to have you. So let's start, taking us on a journey to your dance movement. I've seen you online and I know that you hold your own Afro-funk movement classes, but how did your dance journey begin?
It began at the age of 6. I grew up with the love for dance, passionate about all kinds of dancing, and just throughout my school age years up into high school and now adulthood, I just kept that gift with me. I started out as a praise dancer at church, as well as taking classes at the Malonga Center, and just having different dance teachers throughout my life's journey who instilled in me a lot of African dancing as well as hip hop. I've also had the opportunity to travel to a few different countries like Haiti, where I've learned more about Afro-Haitian dancing and the culture. So that's a little bit about that. But I really grew up singing in the church, which kind of led to, more dancing, poetry, storytelling, and things of that sort.
Mm-hmm.
And in 2019, I founded a dance group called Ishe Dance, where me and another sister in the community, we danced at a lot of birthdays, weddings, other community events. And we found passion through that, and also building a sisterhood as well.
That's fantastic. And so how did you decide to start holding the classes?
A lot of folks have been pushing me for, since like college to teach dance, to teach classes. And I started out with youth, actually. My first job being a dance instructor started at Burkhalter Elementary School in East Oakland.
Yes.
Yes, and that was my first experience working with youth in the form of dancing from like pre-K all the way to 5th grade.
Yes,
And
come on, Burkhalter.
yeah, and I really feel like working. If you can work with youth, you can pretty much work with everybody. And there were some of the parents coming in like, "Do you teach for adults?" And I'm like, "No, not yet, but it's coming." I have a sister friend who has a space in West Oakland, and she was encouraging me to actually hold classes at her space. So this year, I thought that was really appropriate, especially with like transitioning into different ways of being healthy, and also just kind of like exploring what it means to be either like a solo artist, or just kind of like going more in depth into my creative abilities with confidence.
Yes, ma'am. This is such a storied and, I don't want to say common, but very relatable dance journey. Like here in the Bay Area, I can't tell you how many times people have been like, I started at church, which is also my story. Took classes at Malonga, also me, And I feel like the Malonga really draws people together when it comes to diving in and discovering that African diaspora and connection when it comes to movement in the body.
Right. And I think that's very important, especially as young Black women and just Black people in general, is just kind of finding our way in our path. And just it's really great to meet teachers and folks along the way who kind of take their time to kind of teach you about different dance styles. I remember being in first grade. I had a dance teacher named Rahema and the drummer Masango, and they were from the Congo. And that was like the first African dance style that I've learned was Congolese, and leading into like Afro-Brazilian in middle school, and then hip hop, modern, and all those different styles throughout college and high school. And I danced at every rally, like every school rally at Oakland Tech. I've danced in all the rallies. And it's so interesting because in high school, I went to Oakland Tech for about 2 years. They had, either you sign up for PE or the dance class. Miss Travick is the dance instructor there, and I did not have the opportunity to dance in her class because they like
Oh,
split the group up. But I remember at every assembly or every event, I like knew the dances, and they're like, "How did you know all the dances?" You know. But yeah, it's just been such a gift, and I know that my natural gift is dance, but it's interesting that it's leading me into all these other works that I do.
yes, ma'am. So in your Afrofunk class, it fuses all these different styles that you've learned, or does it focus more on the African diaspora, like Congolese, Brazilian?
It's actually a fusion of all different dance styles, and I like
Mm-hmm.
to say there's a fuse of like funk, like soul, like funkadelics, James Brown, like my way of how I grew up dancing, like how I intertwine all these different pieces. Because I didn't want to come at it like I'm just focused on a certain style of dance that I'm not really a master in. So I just kind
Mm,
of like grabbed all these different pieces and said, okay, Afro funk. So there's some hip hop in there. There's like jazz. There's like West African. There's Afro beat. I really like using the old school music intertwined with
yes.
like new school and like Kid and Fela Kuti, Shegun Kuti, Rick James, and all those different folks that have inspired me along my journey.
So right now we're gonna pivot a little bit and talk about MELANAID. Am I saying that
Mhm.
correctly?
Yes, you are. Yep.
What is that?
So MELANAID is a plant-based juice company that I founded in 2016. What led me to building this company was one, I had got my first job at Safeway in 2015, and I just remember like if I could wake up early to go work for someone else, I could definitely do that for me. And I always had
Say
a
that.
love for yes, and I always had a love for like making things with my hands. I started out baking cakes actually. My grandmother taught me how to bake from scratch, so I would like sell cakes, a few summers, and then in 2016 I changed my diet actually from a meat diet to more a plant-based diet because I suffer from asthma, allergies, and also PCOS, which is still a journey that I'm figuring out how to
Mm,
heal that with my juices and food. And right now Melanaid is a company that is I'm seeing more of it as a wellness company, and that
mm-hmm.
encompasses not only juices, but, food, movement and things like that. But the juices, what's one thing that's very unique about the juices is that they are supercharged with healing quartz, for example, rose
Oh,
quartz, amethyst, and I charge them on the new and full moon cycles. And the idea of them is to help clear blockages in your energy, and it really aims to support any ailments or dysfunctions in the electric body. So that's the catch with Melanaid. It's essentially aid for your melanin. And I use more alkaline fruits, although I've been like mixing and mingling because at first I was like so stuck with this is an alkaline product, but now I'm also exploring, okay, I can use like different sweeteners, but they're all organic, all natural, and all delicious.
wow. That is amazing.
Thank
So,
you.
how did you learn to bring all these elements together? Like which juices and which, gemstones would be matched right for that? Was that something that you're experimenting and learning with, or do you have a mentor?
Yeah, I actually kind of experimented by myself and with I had a partner at a time, and we were actually studying a lot about healing stones, and we were collaborating on a like crystal business together. And and also it's kind of influenced by Queen Afua as well, who talks about a lot of charged water. Folks probably don't know that they could supercharge their water, and it kind of changes the frequency of the water and the elements of the water. So there was this thing where I'm like studying about copper and how copper is a conduit of energy that helps with relieving arthritis and pain. And I just kind of took it to the next step and was like, I want to, because I used to love calypsos and all these different drinks from the store. And I knew when I changed my diet, I stopped drinking soda. I stopped drinking a lot of different juices. And I was just like, what if I made like a lemonade stand? And then I thought about MELANAID, because when we talk about our bodies and being electric beings, and I was just on this like thing about vibrating high and your frequency. And
Yes.
to be honest with you, sometimes I'll be in the shower and I'll be like, what two fruits go good together? And that's kind of how I birth juices. Like, and I'll be right on point with like the benefits or like even how I match the fruits. Although there's still things that I'm learning about, all of that and juicing and how to take the properties from the juice without ruining the fruit and things like that. But most of it is meditative when I come up with drinks. And they all have special, unique names, which I either tend to name after like close people to me or,
Mm.
that reminds me of places. Like my very first popular drink was Firestorm, and that's made with
Ooh.
hibiscus, turmeric, ginger, and the idea is for it to like um, release any inflammatory in the body's intention
Mm.
in the body. And my brother said it makes him feel enlightened, like when he drinks it.
Mm.
And I
It set a
remember, like,
fire down into your soul, huh?
yes, and I was like, "You playing?" And he was like, "Nah, Jameelah, like I'm serious." Creating the juices for me is just kind of like what I think other folks will like. And then even what they might not like, or even if I don't like the juice, I tend to like just kind of step out the box with what I feel folks might be into. And the other
Yeah.
thing is, I try to offer seasonal flavors. So there's not a time that I'll probably use like a pineapple in the winter time or, like fruits that are not readily available. I know, of course, we live in a society where like everything is mass produced. So you can use the fruits year round, but I really try my best to do what's in season. That's another unique thing about the business.
That's amazing. I'm blown away at your entrepreneurial spirit.
Thank you. It's been a challenge, and I actually was just thinking that I'm juggling a lot, but everything is in alignment. Like everything that I'm doing right now, I feel like it's definitely tied to my life's purpose and my destiny.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much for sharing this experimental and ongoing process for this holistic product. So, right now, we're going to take a short break to hear from our sponsor. To catch up on previous episodes of The Black Landscape, stream on Apple and Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Anchor.fm, and Spotify. Hey fam, if you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me tell you about it. It's free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. And Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard across Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast just in one place. Now download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. We are back with Jameelah Lane, Juice Goddess. So, Jameelah, one thing most folks know to be true about Oakland, and it's among many cities across the Bay Area and the nation that are plagued by increased violence, homelessness, and lack of availability for proper nutrition. In fact, Oakland is in a food desert. Could you define what that means to be for the people?
So, a food desert or food apartheid means that there are not resources that are readily available as they should be in a community. Most times, it's marginalized communities that don't have resources such as food, jobs, economic development in their city that helps it thrive. And East Oakland, in particular, happens to be, we say it's a food desert, but it's just that there has not been any processes or things put in place for East Oakland to have the proper stores and the proper grocery places for folks to shop, if you see, there's like an influx in liquor stores in East Oakland,
Mhm.
and like almost
No,
on
thank
every
you.
corner. And you have to question yourself, like, why do we have like only one grocery store out of, when you go to North Oakland, you see we got tons of grocery stores. And they do that by, I guess, I think it's to keep the population low and just to kind of keep us in this constant state of having nothing.
And that's where deep grocery co-op comes in, right?
Yes. So the Deep Grocery Co-op, we're a worker-owned grocery cooperative, and we are dedicated to restoring East Oakland's community through fresh organic produce, community education, and cooperative economics, which is really a big one. Because as you see, a lot of our folks in East Oakland and Oakland in general have been demoralized, especially with gentrification, crack epidemic that kind of like really messed up a lot of generational wealth. So we really want to focus on prioritizing the well-being of Black and Brown people. We want to bring a functional food and economic system to the hood. It's very important that we start thinking outside the box and really circulating the dollar in our community, kind of what our grandparents would do. Like there are a lot of Black cities and Black enterprises that have been dismantled and destroyed, and it's kind of keeping us low. And
Yes,
the
ma'am.
reason why we want to bring the stores because, as I mentioned, there are no reliable grocery stores in East Oakland. There's no nutritional value. Like a lot of the food that's sold is just like, it's not fresh, it's not organic. Sometimes it's mostly like packaged foods, and then the distance that it takes. So deep East Oakland, there's only Food Max, which doesn't have, it's really good in price, but a lot of the food is not quality. And then sometimes when you go to an organic grocery store, the prices are too high. So we want to make sure
Hello.
that we create a system where the food is affordable and is low priced. And we want to also provide nutrition education to our community because there has been this kind of constant cycle of us not really knowing how to, nourish ourselves, nourish our bodies. We
Mhm.
eat a lot of like junk food, fast food. So a lot of times when we're kind of bringing this to folks, especially our folks, our Black people, they're not turned off by the idea, but they
Mhm.
have a lot of resistance to what it is and what it could be. Especially, that's my experience, like passing out food to certain schools and places. You see that a lot of Latinx folks come out and get the food, and our folks either have too much pride or nobody's cooking anymore. Like our grandmothers aren't cooking, like our mothers aren't cooking, and it's not being passed down in that way. So we really want to make sure that we bring a new life to East Oakland, and
Mhm.
really help empower the folks in East Oakland. And the DEEP stands for Deep East Oakland Empowering the People. So food
Yes.
is one of many ways we want to bring this empowerment, but we also want folks to know that they have an opportunity to thrive in their
Mhm.
city, without people coming in, and there's gentrification and things like that.
And so for folks at home who don't know, what is a worker cooperative? What does that mean?
So, a worker owned cooperative is basically where like minded individuals they come together with a common goal. And the idea of a co op is for it to not be a hierarchy. So,
Mhm.
there's equal decision making power between all the members. The folks who work in the store are actually owners of the store. And that means that everybody has equal amount of ownership. There is a board that you have, which includes like the president, secretary, and treasurer, but everybody is always informed of what's going on in the business. There's no one like under anybody. So that's the idea of a worker owned cooperative.
And how does Deep connect with others in the community? Where do you all get the food from?
So right now we get our food from our cousin store, Mandela Grocery Co-op in West
Mhm.
Oakland. and they source from various farmers, other organic produce vendors throughout the Bay Area. And then we also have connected with folks like Actinon Verba, who is our fiscal sponsor. They have given us food once upon a time, So Root Farm, Planting Justice, and folks like that.
So tell us what a typical program or day of giving would look like for the Deep Grocery Co-op. Where do you guys set up shop?
So right now we are doing a Buy Black campaign, which is sponsored by CRC. It's actually their Buy Black campaign, but they sponsor small businesses in Oakland. And right now they're helping us with operations and logistics. So we distribute food twice a week, Thursdays and Sundays. Thursdays are usually our days where we either drop off food to schools, senior homes, or recreation centers. And then Sundays kind of pop around throughout East Oakland, Eastmont Mall, Ghazali's, ShopRite. And we've recently been going to more deeper East Oakland areas like 81st, 98th, and sometimes we go throughout like the Dubs. We meet our volunteers, we circle up, and we kind of do like a check-in and just see how folks are feeling. And then we kind of drive to these different locations and we stay there 30 minutes at a time, giving out food to the community, socks, PPEs, hygiene kits, and then we just kind of go from there to different areas. And we end around like 5-6 o'clock most days. And then twice a week, we go to Mandela Grocery Co-op and pick up these large orders Wednesday and Saturdays so that the vegetables can be bagged for the very next day. We also have gotten donations from Farm the Roof, which is a new farm in North Oakland. It's on top of the new Whole Foods, I believe. But there's like coalition of nurses who have a rooftop farm, and they've donated us greens, like arugula, lettuces, and other things like that. And it's really cool.
Yes,
and that's
ma'am.
what we hope. Like, we really hope, like, one thing that I visualize really is for us to, one way I could see us circulating the dollar in our community is to have a lot of home growers. So folks having neighborhood farms, neighborhood gardens, where folks can then sell us their produce, so we can like compensate them for the food that we purchase from them. And that's, I think, is a good way to keep the dollar circulating in the community.
Yes, cooperative economics. Well, Jameelah, I thank you so much for joining us and giving us so much great information about yourself, MELANAID, Deep Grocery Co-op. Tell our audience where they can find all of these wonderful resources.
Definitely. So I'm on Instagram at MELANAID. That's M as in Mason, E as in egg, L as in lion, A as in apple, N as in Nancy, _, A as in apple, I as in igloo, and D as in dog. And you can find my personal dance stuff. I'm going to work on an Instagram for Afro Funk. But right now I am Carving Queen on Instagram. So that's K as in king, A as in apple, R as in Roger, B as in boy, O as in N as in Nancy. And then you spell queen with a K. So that's KWEEN. And then the Deep Grocery Co-op, we have a website, thedeepgrocery.coop. And then our Instagram is at thedeep, THEDEEP, grocery co-op. And that's where you can find all the wonderful things that we're doing.
Well, thank you so much for being here, and we thank all of you out there listening and supporting another season. This has been another episode of The Black Landscape, where Black excellence is always trending.